All right, I want you to try something with me. Take out your phone, go to settings, go to screen time, scroll down and find out how many times you picked up your phone yesterday. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes of your waking life. And we know that it takes about 23 minutes to fully regain your focus after being distracted. So if you get distracted just 5 times in a single workday, that's nearly 2 hours of lost productivity and focus. Now that study was actually done back in 2019, and more recent data shows that this number might be closer to 350 times per day that people are checking their phone, or about once every couple minutes. Now imagine what you could accomplish in your life if you reclaimed even half of that attention and focused it on what truly matters. Now on the surface, this might seem like a discipline or a willpower problem, but it's actually not your fault. We live in an attention economy, and your focus is being actively targeted on 3 different fronts. Through intentional device design, advanced algorithms, and your own human psychology, your attention is being attacked, manipulated, and monetized. So if you want to focus better than 99% of people, casually trying to check your phone less isn't going to cut it. You don't need more willpower or discipline. You need a defense system. So today I'm going to show you how to build your own sort of mind fortress, which is a 3-part system designed to help you focus better than 99% of people. By the way, if you're into learning about things like this, please consider subscribing. It's a zero-cost way to support the channel and helps me continue making videos like this one. First, we need to take a deeper look at what we're up against: the 3-front war on your focus. Device design. So these days, many of our technological devices have evolved beyond the practical tools that they were originally designed to be, and have been engineered to almost hijack our brain in certain contexts. So there's this book called Hooked. Basically, it's like a manual to help tech and software companies design products that maximize user engagement, which is a nice way of saying they keep their users addicted to the product or software. It's a very eye-opening book because it kind of pulls back the curtain on a lot of these apps and companies out there and shows you their perspective when they're designing these things for consumers like us. But in the book, he outlines this hook model, which is basically a 4-step process to keep users addicted to their products or turn using their product, app, or software into a solidified habit. And the model involves trigger, action, variable reward, and investment. Trigger in most cases would be something like a notification. This is why anytime you download an app, one of the first things it tells you to do is enable notifications, because they want to have the ability to trigger you to use the app. Then action would be like tapping to open the app, and devices are designed in such a way that makes this super easy these days. By default, most of the iPhones come with a setting where all you have to do is tap the screen and it'll turn on. I've personally disabled that setting because it makes it way too easy to just go onto your phone, and so I have to actually press the side button to unlock my phone. And then other things like the bright colors, the haptic feedback, and even the pull down to refresh the homepage or your feed motion, which kind of mimics slot machines in Vegas where you have to pull the lever, are all intentionally designed to make taking action and using these devices as frictionless and enjoyable as possible. And then once one of these devices or apps gets you to take action and open them up, you get a variable reward. So it's not always the same thing that you see when you open up your phone. There'll be different notifications from different apps, new things popping up within a specific app like Instagram or YouTube. It's not going to just show you the same picture that you saw last time or the same video, because that would be pretty boring. It's going to show you something new and you're not really sure what it's going to be. The only way to find out is to open it or refresh the feed. And this way you are always kind of anticipating what you're going to see when you open the app, and that kind of taps into your dopamine. And a lot of this is powered by algorithms, which we'll talk more about later, but it makes this variable reward part of the equation just super high quality and very effective. And there will be some type of investment that keeps you coming back to the app or product, software, whatever it is. This will be things like posting content, replying, keeping up some sort of streak. You can think of Snapchat or Duolingo is probably one of the best examples of a company that has implemented this entire hook model really well. It's become kind of a meme with like the Duolingo bird coming after you and yelling at you through emails and notifications to get back to studying your language. And the app probably does a better job of keeping users hooked to using it than it does actually teaching them the language. But if you ever open up Duolingo and kind of study how their whole app is designed, it is spot on with this hook model. So our phone is really no longer the practical tool, the simple iPod, iPhone, and internet device all in one that Steve Jobs originally designed.
A widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device.
It's become almost like a slot machine inside our pocket. Now, the behind the scenes mechanism that's really powering this hooked model and getting you addicted is the advanced algorithms. Once the device gets you looking, the content that's curated to you through these algorithms is what keeps you hooked. Every major platform out there these days, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, news sites, even like Google Maps, are incorporating these algorithmic feeds, which are engineered to maximize engagement, which is just a nice way of saying addiction. Now, someone who makes YouTube videos, this is something that you kind of learn about. In order to get more views on your video and grow the channel, you have to kind of optimize for keeping viewers like you on YouTube and watching my videos and just on the platform. And that will generally lead to my videos performing better. Now, this is all fine if the content is genuinely valuable, educational, and improves your life in some way, which I hope my videos do. But the truth is that most of the stuff out there on social media or these random apps don't actually add real value to your life and is nothing more than just mindless distractions that are numbing some sort of pain or emotion that you're feeling in your life. And the kind of scary part is, thanks to AI and technological advances, these algorithms are getting to know you better than you know yourself. And this is because they're tracking everything from how long you pause over certain content as you're scrolling, to what you click on, to what you continue watching, to what brings you back to the platform so that it can feed you more of whatever triggers your specific dopamine system. And you'll notice that across all these platforms, you're no longer intentionally searching for certain types of content. You're being shown what the platform thinks that you want to watch, or at least what will keep you on the platform. This might differ from what you actually want to watch or want to spend your time doing deep down. But all of this together makes that variable reward portion of the hook model extremely effective in keeping you distracted and destroying your focus. Psychological vulnerabilities. Now, the reason we struggle to maintain our focus and might find ourselves checking Instagram or YouTube isn't because we're weak. It's because we're human. When we feel any type of emotion, boredom, loneliness, insecurity, overwhelm, sadness, these digital distractions temporarily provide relief for that pain. And modern society in general encourages us to avoid any sort of minor discomfort as quickly as possible, whether this means taking some sort of pharmaceutical, drugs, Tylenol for a minor headache, or antidepressants, or eating a bunch of satisfying sugary junk food the moment that we feel the tiniest bit of hunger. We never really have to be alone with our thoughts and feelings anymore. We never have to just sit in that discomfort or boredom for even a few minutes. I mean, you'll see this when you just go about your day. If you hop onto an elevator, the first thing everyone does is pull out their phones. They can't even sit through like a 10-second elevator ride without feeling that void of momentary boredom and emptiness. And the reason why it's so difficult for many people to kind of manage this pain and push through that discomfort and actually do the hard thing is, again, not really our fault. And it goes back to how our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Our brains haven't really evolved that much since hunter-gatherer times, when this natural instinct to avoid pain would have been essential for survival, because we just lived in a dangerous world. There was scarcity, not enough food. We could get killed by like a lion or something. So any sort of pain that we would have felt back in those days would have been a life or death scenario. And any sort of pleasure would have been things that are genuinely good for our survival, like food, shelter, safety, just family, reproduction, things like that. But in the modern world, we still have these same mechanisms in our brain. The only difference is we live in a world of abundance, a relatively safe world where we don't have to hunt for our food, we don't have to run away from tigers, and we also have infinite sources of potential pleasure, everything from junk food to social media, drugs, alcohol, etc. Our brains still want to avoid all pain like it's life-threatening, and seek all pleasure like it's essential for our survival. And so the way that these mechanisms are wired in our brain, in combination with how our devices and these algorithms are designed leads to this kind of vicious cycle. We naturally seek pleasure in our daily life and often resort to the sources that require the least amount of sacrifice. We get that pleasure and build a higher and higher tolerance over time, which means we need more stimulation to satisfy that same desire for pleasure. You can think about super stimulating video games or corn, and then simultaneously our tolerance for discomfort continues to go down. So at the slightest feeling of boredom or loneliness, we'll reach for our phone or whatever it is for that instant pain relief. And so the reason why traditional solutions to this focus or distraction problem, like installing some app blockers or just trying to be more disciplined or doing a dopamine detox, don't permanently solve the issue, is because they're not addressing all three of these fronts simultaneously. So some part of that hooked model is still getting through. So we need a defense system that addresses everything in totality. The Mind Fortress 3-part defense system. So the first step to reclaiming your attention and being able to focus better than 99% of people is to fortify your digital environment. And this is a great place to start because you can do this literally today, because it basically involves trying to return your devices like your phone, computer, tablet, whatever you use, more towards those original tools that like Steve Jobs originally designed. So for example, on your phone, this would involve removing all non-essential apps from your home screen, especially those with the algorithmic feeds, and just keeping kind of the practical utilities on your phone. Turning off all notifications except for maybe calls or messages from actual human beings. And this kind of cuts off that trigger part of the hooked model. You can use grayscale mode to reduce the visual appeal of the different colorful icons, which makes it, less likely that you're going to just want to randomly click on an app. You can set up time limits and downtime in your phone settings. So maybe certain windows during the day where you're allowed to use social media or something, but the rest of the time it's blocked. A big one is setting up your phone charger outside of your bedroom so it doesn't affect your sleep. I never bring my phone into the bedroom and always have the alarm on my phone ring outside of my room. So I have to get up and go turn it off. And I'm not sitting in bed scrolling on it first thing in the morning. And this is optional, but you can even use something like a dumb phone style launcher, which really just hides a lot of the distracting, enticing app icons and stuff and reverts your phone into this more minimalist utility setup. And then we can do similar things on our computer. And for me, this is where I get most of my productive work done. So it's even more crucial that I set up my laptop properly, but this is things like, again, uninstalling non-essential applications, cleaning up like the bookmarks and favorites on your browser so you're not just tempted to, one click away, get to YouTube or something. Use website blockers. There's a lot of great extensions that will hide the algorithmic feeds on certain websites or just block them entirely. And then you can even use separate browsers or accounts for personal use. So if you do need to use your computer for something that's not like your normal productive work, you can do that on a separate browser or something so that when you are working on stuff, you're not tempted to go like open up Netflix or go down some rabbit hole. Now, it's very easy to get obsessed trying to figure out the perfect phone or computer setup, although I wouldn't, get too caught up in it. It's important, but don't let it turn into another form of distraction. Basically, we just want to, as best we can, turn our devices back into the practical tools that they were originally designed to be, instead of these dopamine slot machines in our pockets. Step 2, become a producer, not a consumer. This is one of the best ways to beat sort of the content algorithms. Yes, you can hide them, but also if you kind of flip the script and instead of becoming a passive consumer of this content online, become a producer. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become a YouTuber or make content on social media, although I obviously think that that's a good idea for anyone to start doing. It's really about using technology for creating something before you use it for just mindless consumption. And you could even implement some sort of creation before consumption rule where you tell yourself, before you engage in any sort of social media, news, video, content, you have to use your technology to create something first. So this could be like writing or journaling, working on some sort of meaningful project, whether it's personal or work related, planning or organizing some ideas, doing some creative work, studying, anything like that that adds value to your life or puts something out into the world rather than consuming from it. I like to use time blocking on my calendar to make this concrete, where I block out the first couple hours of the day to producing something. It's my sacred sort of creation time where nothing else really happens. I'm not checking email messages, social media. I'm just building, working on something that's actually productive. And as you start to do this more consistently, you'll find that it becomes easier and easier to avoid and resist those distractions, because you'll get much deeper pleasure from doing this actual productive, creative work rather than just sort of passively consuming things. So I'm not saying that you should never watch Netflix or YouTube or do any sort of consumption ever again. I'm just saying that when you do sit down, try to do so with intention. Don't let these algorithms dictate what you spend your time doing. Think about, okay, what am I actually interested in? What sort of, show might I want to watch, and pick something yourself rather than leaving it up to these algorithms, which are designed to keep you addicted. And Cal Newport calls this something like high quality leisure activities. So it's a way of relaxing and enjoying yourself, but doing activities that require some form of engagement and presence rather than just mindless distraction, scrolling through some feed. Step 3, build your mental defense system. So this third and final part of the system is all about countering some of those psychological vulnerabilities that we talked about earlier. And it starts with understanding what our internal triggers are that cause us to be distracted. So what sort of emotion or pain do we feel when we reach for those distractions? Ask yourself what you're feeling in that moment. Is it frustration, boredom, loneliness, overwhelm, insecurity? What is it, and why are you feeling that way? Most people just instantly reach for the distraction to extinguish that pain through mindless consumption, when in reality we could use that feeling or emotion as a signal that something in our life needs to change. But the only way we can do that is if we kind of sit in that discomfort for a little bit, and if we think about it, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Then we can quickly sort of start to identify some way to fix the underlying problem permanently rather than just relying on a Band-Aid to temporarily relieve the pain. Now, one way you can implement this is by following what's called the 10-minute rule. So the moment that you feel the urge to reach for a distraction, you tell yourself, okay, I can give in, but I have to wait 10 minutes. And this creates a bit of space between impulse and action and lets you take a minute to assess what you're feeling in that moment. What's the pain that you're trying to relieve? What are potential steps to legitimately relieve that pain? And usually it's enough time to kind of extinguish that urge to reach for the distraction. Now, depending on your current state of mind and focus abilities and how much of this sort of mindless consumption you've been doing, I often find it helpful to implement some kind of a 24-hour or 7-day digital reset. Now, this will definitely be a bit challenging at first, but by the end of it, you'll sort of recalibrate your brain's reward system so that everyday activities become a lot more enjoyable. I find it helpful to do this, once a month or any time that I feel like I've been reaching for my phone a little too often or getting caught going down these social media doom scrolling rabbit holes. It's a good practice to have in my back pocket. And I'll put a link in the description to a free digital reset checklist so you can easily implement this protocol. I've also found that practicing meditation is really good for training this mental muscle that allows you to resist distractions and stay focused, because meditation is hard, just trying to focus on your breath and tune out the distracting thoughts that come into your mind while your eyes are closed is hard if you've never tried it. So if you can get good at meditating, through 5 or 10 minutes daily, you'll find that it becomes a lot easier to resist those distractions. You can kind of observe from an outside perspective those impulses as they're happening so that you can kind of counter them. And one of the big things that will also help you sort of resist these distractions and stay focused is if you have something that's worth focusing on, something to fill those emotional voids, that loneliness, that dissatisfaction, that overwhelm, some sort of project to work on. For me, that's things like growing my YouTube channel, business, health and fitness goals, trying to decorate my apartment better, any sort of project, big or small, that is something that you can apply your focus and energy towards, and something that you can build up will satisfy a lot of that, natural desires to like do something with your life that usually get numbed by the mindless consumption. But that's definitely easier said than done. If you want some help figuring out like what to focus your attention on in life, I'll link a free life reset workbook in the description. It's basically this mini ebook that goes through this exercise to kind of assess your current situation in life, helps you craft a vision for your ideal future, and figure out some next steps that you can take. And this is a great way to figure out some kind of project to focus on that will provide some real benefit to your life and genuinely relieve some of that pain that you might be feeling that usually causes you to reach for those distractions. Now, remember, being able to focus better than 99% of people isn't just a productivity tool to help you get more done. It's really the foundation for building a meaningful life. Everything from getting deep productive work done to crafting genuine relationships and just having the ability to be present and fully enjoy your own life. So think about what you could accomplish if you could focus better than 99% of people. That's not just a productivity advantage, that's a life advantage. Now, I know there's a lot in this video. If you got through the whole thing, that's definitely a good sign and shows that you can focus a lot better than the average person. But don't feel like you need to apply all of this today. Just pick one element from each of these sort of 3 defenses. Maybe reconfigure your phone setup or schedule 30 minutes of creation time first thing in the morning, and maybe, practice that 10-minute rule. I find that one definitely helps me out. Being able to focus well is definitely a skill that's not going to be mastered overnight, but every time you make one of these intentional changes, you get one step closer to building this, ultimate mind fortress, and it'll just become that much easier to tune out distractions and stay focused on what truly matters in your life. You can check out the free life reset workbook down in the description, and also the waitlist for purposeful productivity. Do something today that your future focused self would thank you for.